let's see, Ken. All right, Ken. I have your GEPRC. What the hell is this thing called? The word that comes to my mind is hummingbird, but I really don't know. I think it's, isn't that it? A hummingbird? Shit, I don't know. It's the GEPRC 3-inch. It's got their stack, the HGLRC stack. I don't know if it's the 28 amp version. It's got the version 2 of the TX20, which is cool. It has I don't know if is it smart audio? I think that's what it is. So Ken, you got to brush up on your soldering just a little bit, man. Practice on some old broken boards or something, because if you tried to build another quad with your soldering skills as they are, you're gonna have some pretty big issues. Okay, so the first thing you had, let me, how can I explain this? Okay, you had the yellow wire that comes out of the camera. That's the video in. Okay, when you're dealing with the OSD, the yellow from the camera is your video in. Yellow from the VTX is your video out. Okay, and on this VTX, if you flip it over to the bottom, you'll see here, tells you what everything is from top to bottom here. You got video, and that's going to be the video out. Okay, so you didn't have nothing here. There was no wire here. And you had the yellow from the camera running to, I don't even know, somewhere on the flight controller, I think, where it says VTX or something. I don't know. It was all wired wrong. So video in from the camera goes to the flight controller where the flight controller says cam. Okay, and it's right here. I don't know if I'll be able to show it. For anybody that's really familiar with these HGLRC XJB boards, you'll know on one side it's for the OSD and it says negative cam 5 volt negative VTX battery, which these 3 pads will be for, you know, the OSD from the camera and powering the camera, and these 3 over here will be for the OSD for the VTX and powering the VTX. So this VTX takes 7 to 26 volts, so it can take direct battery voltage. That's what it's made for, since this VTX is made for this flight controller. So the way you're going to wire up your VTX is you're going to have 3 wires coming out of it, black, red, and yellow, power, ground, and video, okay, from the VTX to the flight controller. So the yellow is going to go to where it says VTX on the flight controller. The red is going to go to where it says BAT, so it gets battery voltage, which is going to be between 7 and 26 volts if you're using like a 3-cell or even a 4-cell. Also a 2-cell, I guess. Okay, and then your black is going to go to the negative. And that's the 3 for your VTX. Black, yellow, red. Black is ground, yellow is VTX, red is battery. Okay, then the other 3 over here are going to your camera. That's ground, negative, ground, yellow, cam, also video in, also known as video in, but it says cam, and then 5 volt. 5 volt will be to power the camera. So those 3 go to the camera. And that's it. Very simple. Just 3 wires from the camera to the flight controller, 3 wires from the VTX to the flight controller. So 6 wires total, 3 from each thing. Okay? I hope I explained that good, and I hope I didn't over-explain it. Video in from the camera, video out from the VTX. It starts to get confusing if I just start saying it different ways and shit. Okay, so I redid all your solder joints for your motor wires. The thing is, it looked to me like you didn't tin any of the pads, which makes it really hard to solder. Soldering is so easy when you do it right. If you tin all the pads and you tin all the wires and you tin your iron, you can take the wire and just hold it up to the pad and take your iron, and it literally takes like that to solder it, that long. And it makes it look nice and shiny and round and just beautiful, you know. I mean, I've been soldering a long time, so I can relate. I mean, when I first started soldering, my soldering looked just like yours. So don't worry, it just takes practice. That's it. And then you'll be a pro. I redid your battery cables as well. They weren't looking too great either. Sorry, I'm not ragging on you. I'm just... I mean, you already know you're not a very good solderer. So if you were sitting there messaging me like, yeah, I'm a really good solderer, I don't know what the problem is, then I would be like, what the fuck? But you admitted that you're not very good at soldering, so it's all good. You're so not good at soldering, in fact, that you ripped off the negative pad for the receiver, which I thought for a second it was the S-bus pad, and I was like, oh, great. But it's just the negative pad for the receiver, so I'm going to just use a different negative pad somewhere else. Let's see, where can we get it from? PPM, DSMX, 3 volt, S-bus, ground 5 volt. I know there was a ground that wasn't being used. Oh, right there. Okay. Let me show you how to properly solder. My iron is turned all the way up. 450. I think that's Celsius. Yeah, Celsius. 450 Celsius. I'm using this solder. Really good solder. I don't know. I get it off eBay. Maybe you can find it. Or I might be able to leave a link. I don't know. Okay. Here's a clean pad, never been soldered to before. Let me see if I can get the camera closer. Okay, here we go. We're gonna tin this pad. So I'm gonna hold my iron right on the pad for a few seconds, and then I'm gonna add solder. Just like that. See how it's nice and round and shiny? My iron isn't the greatest. As you can see, the solder only sticks to one side at the very tip. So if I have it on the wrong side when I go to solder, it just doesn't work, so I gotta spin it around, and then I guess I could just check first which side is the right side. Okay, there we go. Now, next we're gonna tin the wire. So yours are already tinned because you had soldered them. I'm going to trim this down a little bit. I'm going to tin it with my solder because I don't know what kind of solder you use. So I'm going to tin the wire. Just like that. Okay, nice and tinned. And I'm going to clean my iron with the wet sponge. Then I'm going to set my solder right here to where I can easily get to it to add more to my iron. I'm going to grab the wire with my tweezers. Make sure it's in the spot I want it to be. Bend it down like that. Then I'm going to get solder on my iron. I'm going to stick the wire up to the pad, and I'm going to touch it for a second. See? Look at that. It's done being soldered, and look at how nice it looks. I don't know how clear that's going to be on the camera, but it couldn't look any better. Okay. Then we will do the signal and power real quick. So we got 5 volt right here. And S-bus right here. And that's it. We're good to go. So I'm going to get this all put back together. Actually, I guess we can check it right now. So let me just put the VTX back up. Come on. Make sure you're not pinching any wires when you push something down. Okay, that's good. I'm going to bring the receiver over here so we can make sure that's working, and then we'll set the camera up right there. Make sure the antenna is still plugged in. Okay, everything's good. So now I'm going to turn on my little monitor. I'm going to use the smoke stopper. And we're going to plug in.
I'm all done.
Okay, now you can see the receiver is now flashing, so it's working like it's supposed to. You can see the VTX is on, and you can see that the video is working like it's supposed to now. So let's bind it up to my radio real quick, and then we'll see if it arms as well. Ugh. So we're gonna go to just an open one. We're gonna go down here and put it on D16. Then we're gonna hit bind, telemetry on, hit enter again. Now it's ready to bind. It's chirping and flashing. We're going to try to hold the bind button. This heat shrink is like super thick. Oh, come on. Hold the bind button while you're plugging in the battery. And you can see the red's flashing now, so it's binding. Okay, now push enter on your radio again to stop the bind. Unplug the battery, plug it back in. And now we got a solid blue and a solid green, which means it's bound. So, let's see if it will arm. Nope. So I gotta plug it into Betaflight to see. It's probably like the throttle's too high or something. My card ran out of memory. I need to get a giant card for this thing. So yeah, I think I got everything good. So I don't know how much it missed on that last part there, but everything should be golden now. So we're gonna plug in. Actually, we don't need the smoke stopper anymore because we know that it's all good. So after everything we did, now we have nice clear video. See, it's looking great. And now we will arm it. And all the motors are spinning. They're spinning the right way. Yep, looking good. So everything is perfect now. Let's check this thing out. I got it all finished up. Gonna do a little test hover before I throw it back in the box and send it to you, Ken. Whoa. Oh, you wanted to turn, huh? I was a little bit nervous to go up. Oh yeah. Well, my trims are off centered, and now the battery's dead. Alright. So, it's badass. It was just my fault. I have a completely dead battery, and my trims were off center for another quad that I was flying. Of course, it was a tiny whoop because I just grabbed one of these from another quad that I was using. So yeah, my trims were off center, so it was moving around. I thought for a second it was the quad, but it's not. Okay. So yeah, flies awesome, so smooth. Motors were a little bit warm, but they're not hot. Actually, they're just normal. Cool. So yeah, this thing's all good to go. You got your receiver on very top here, so you got the bind button accessible right there, no problem. Yeah, everything's looking good. It's all good to go. You just need to bind it up and go have some fun. Alright, thanks Ken.